let's do this thing. Once again, once again, we're back to Friends of the Podcast. Yeah. Yeah. Fucking welcome back, everybody. Thanks to everyone who watched this thing the first time around and left positive feedback. That's always fun. Yeah, let's try this another time and see how far I get this time. I got a little bit better prepared with what I'm making at the moment. You might already see this paper here and a little light sketch on it. I don't know how good that picks up on camera. It's a blue pencil sketch. And I'll be doing some brush line work today. I got some liquid acrylic. People who are specific on what I use, I don't really care a lot about that, but I'm using this paint, Polytech. It's just this kind of affordable brand you find everywhere in Mexico here. And it's it's acrylic, but it's not as dense as the acrylic that you usually get in the tubes. So it's a little bit more liquid, which makes it pretty easy to do line work and stuff like that. I just add a little bit water to the thing, and then we can do some lines. I'm gonna make some line work because I'm gonna turn this thing into a print, and you might have already seen this design on my Instagram. It is based on something I did in my sketchbook not too long ago. On this thing. Yeah, posted it on my Instagram not that long ago. Got pretty good feedback, and I kind of like the idea. I originally wanted to take a picture of this and then put it on my iPad and retrace the lines so I have like a digital line version of this thing to send to the printer. But I don't know, I kind of wanted like the real lines for this. Like, I like working digitally, and nowadays on Procreate, like, those brushes are so good that I make a lot of these things just digitally. But for this one, I don't know, I felt like doing it with the old pencil and paint. So yeah, we're gonna take this thing. Here is a sketch. I slightly altered it a little bit. And yeah, today we're, I would say inking it, but it's acrylic paint, so we're painting it. This will be an A3 print that's gonna be available pretty soon, normally, if it all goes according to plan. So yeah, let's try some shit out, and I hope this picks up on camera. Again, I'm pretty new to this whole podcasting, and this whole setup I got going here is a little bit shitty. Like, the tripod I'm using, you can even see it in the image, is like, I wish I could, like, look. I got this tripod thing that's like all crooked on my desk, taped to the side so it doesn't fall over, because I need like this overhead thing. So it's like kind of in my face, but I have to work with the things I have, man. At least I'm making something right. Okay, so let's get started on this thing. Yeah, so this is a philosophy that you might have heard before. Like, if you plan on doing something, or you have the idea of making something, but you don't really have all the tools that you need or you would like to make your idea, sometimes it's just better to start with what you have and then slowly build it up as you go. Because if you're always just waiting for the perfect material or the perfect setting or whatever it is you need, before you actually start making something, whatever it is, then sometimes that idea dies before it ever comes to fruition. That has definitely happened to me in the past, especially with this YouTube channel. Like, I think I've honestly been saying that I've wanted to do this for like 4 or 5 years. People have been actively asking me, but always I was like, yeah, but I don't know. I need good ideas and I need a good camera setup, and I can't just make it all like shitty. I need to make it like professional if I do it, and there's always some reason, or I need extra time. Like, there's always something to not start what you want to be starting. And now we're 5 years later, and I'm still doing it with the things I already had back then. I have this kind of tripod that's not made for overhead stuff, but we just tape it to a desk. I'm still using my iPhone camera, which is honestly not the worst, but it's also a little beaten up. Like, one of the lenses has like a slight crack in it, and it doesn't show up on the pictures except for in some angles. It's weird. But so yeah, and I have also this like microphone thing that's just like cheap, and I feel like the last YouTube video I made, I checked it afterwards and I wasn't like too happy with the sound quality. But either way, we got things started, and it gave me ideas and inspiration. And I'm kind of happy that I did, because now I have this like sort of soapbox that I can shout in. I can just start filming and say whatever's on my mind, and that's pretty nice. Yeah, to people who are like into my line work, and sometimes they ask me like how I do it or what materials do I use. Same philosophy for that, man. Like, you want to make some dope lines, and just start drawing fucking lines, man. I've been drawing lines for a long time. If not, that was almost always my thing. But it's only in the last like 4 to 5 years that I really found my own style, or my own hand in how I want my lines to look. And that started with just like, I always used to use these, what are they called? Stedler pens. Like, I would show you an example, but I honestly don't even have one anymore because I didn't use them. But like the staple, what do people use mostly for like lines? Let me see. It's not that, but like, I have a Sharpie thing here. With like a super fine line, right? Let me show that on camera. Sharpie, super fine line, stuff like that. I will always use to do my lines, which works fine, and they're great materials. But I missed like dynamics or a little life in my lines. And then one day I found this brush marker, and I tried to make like the same fine lines with it. But if you have a marker that's like lean, like, how do you say that? That's like bendy. It's not like when you put the point, that's it, but you put the point and you push it in, and it kind of bends with you, and that's how you get like these line depths, different thicknesses of lines. And I was like, wow, that's not the effect I wanted at all. But at the same time, I was kind of intrigued by it, and I was like, wait, let me lean into this, and then really use like the thickness of the brush to go from thick to thin. And I just did it for fun, and it was like a fun couple of sketches. But after a while, I was like, hey, there's actually something to that. And then I also, in general, started painting more and more. And so slowly but surely, like, lines and painted lines got my attention more than like the usual fine line thing. And my mind, or my art brain, shifted more to painting than drawing. I've always had like a drawing kind of brain, but when you paint more and more, you start looking differently at your work. And so I started approaching my line work more from a painter's perspective than from a drawer's perspective. I always thought that was funny. Like, do English speaking people actually use the word a drawer? Because drawers are like from a chest, right? It's something you open and you put something in a drawer. But can you actually use that word to describe a person that draws? Because every time I speak about that and I want to say like I'm a drawer, that kind of sounds wrong for some reason. So yeah, if you're a native English speaker, definitely let me know. A drawer. Um, Man, I'm making a mess of things already. But so yeah, if you can see this, I don't take like too much time for it. It's not clean at all, but that's the whole point. It doesn't have to be fucking clean, and it's alive. If I did this exact same thing with the small fine liners, then that would give me more of a clean comic book look, I guess. But because I don't have like a very precise hand at all, I don't know. To me, it just comes alive a little bit more, and real life doesn't have like outlines at all. But somehow, the fatter I make my outlines, the more drawing becomes alive for me. Because I'm just weird and quirky like that. No, I'm just messing around a little bit. But yeah, actually, my whole style and my way of putting lines, I'll tell you a little secret. It comes forth out of me not being a clean person, and I couldn't even do that to save my life. So I turned it into my strength. Like, if you would ask me to actually line this with a brush in like a clean way and have the lines like look sharp and equal and nice, I wouldn't be able to do that. Like, a lot of people in street art do these jobs of painting logos or lettering or whatever, where you use these long brushes and you put your pinky up against the wall and you put like these super straight lines. You couldn't ask me to do that, man, even if I tried. So at this, like, always feel like yeah, I'm an artist and I paint and I draw and stuff, but at the same time I can't draw at all because I couldn't copy a logo if you wanted me to, man. Or I'd have to be able to incorporate it into my style. And that's the thing, like, my whole style is kind of based on, well, there's all these things that I can't do, but let's just enlarge the things that I can do. I'm kind of able to make these lines that look kind of alive, but they're not clean at all. Okay, but then they don't have to be clean. Let's just lean into that, and that's how it works for most of the stuff that I do. Like, I just lean into what I'm naturally good at, and I kind of shy away from the things I'm not that good at, which is also a little bit lame. But at the same time, because I've been doing it for so long, I feel like if you just lean into what you really love doing and you're consistent at it and you like don't stop, eventually the disciplines you need to learn to become a good drawer, they show up naturally, you know? If you really love drawing but you hate uh, practicing perspective, or you don't want to just focus on pulling nice lines or whatever, but you just feel like drawing silly faces and not pay too much attention to like lessons or what you should be learning as an artist, just do what you want to do. Lean into that thing that's fun for you, because that's what makes you want to keep doing it. And then if you keep doing it because of that, eventually, if you do it long enough, you will encounter the lessons you're supposed to learn like naturally. Oh, did I already get some shit on my face? Yeah, so stuff you're supposed to learn arises naturally if you chase your passion long enough, in my opinion. Like, honestly, if you would have asked me a couple of years ago to draw you a car, I would have just laughed and been like, yeah, you're at the wrong address for that, buddy. I don't draw cars. They're too technical. They have to look a certain way. And I never drew cars. And like somehow, years later now, cars kind of drew my attention again. I was like, hey, wait, maybe there is fun ways to draw cars. And then the last couple of months I've been drawing more cars, and now all of a sudden I feel like it's a fun thing to do as long as I can do it in the way that I like doing it. But so that's kind of a proof of like, if I felt like years ago, oh, but I'm an artist, I should be able to draw cars. Like, you shouldn't shy away from anything, and you should learn how to draw cars. And like forced myself to draw cars when I didn't want to. That wouldn't have brought me anything. I just would have reluctantly been doing these exercises and not learn a lot from it because my heart's not in it. And so I just always kept on painting the things I felt like painting. And now years later, naturally, I run into like, hey, I kind of want to be drawing cars. And I start drawing cars, and now I'm learning it from a perspective of this is one of what I want to be doing right now. And so there you go. So if you really want to get good at drawing, just fucking draw. Whatever it is. You want to draw people, you want to draw plants, you want to draw the silliest cartoony figures. Like, if something captures your attention and that's what you want to do that. The lessons will follow. In my opinion, passion always comes first. The rest comes later, even in business and in money. And if you want to make money as an artist, do what you feel like you want to be doing first. And if you do that passionately enough and you do that long enough, money will follow. And then you can make money off the thing you actually love doing instead of forcing yourself into a position of doing things you don't really like doing, but they pay the bills. That's kind of what I see in a lot of artists. Like, they have this thing that they love doing, and they're good at it, and they make dope shit. But then, yeah, they have to pay the bills, but also they don't just want to do like sit behind or work in a McDonald's or sit behind a register or whatever. They still want to keep their income artistic, which I get, and I did that a long time as well. But so eventually, that'll become your job. Like, a lot of my paint friends, they do commercial painting jobs and they do murals for companies and they paint logos and whatever. But most of the time, their heart isn't really in it. And so, yeah, but it pays the bills and at least you're still painting. And I mean, there's truth to that. Like, I've done jobs like that paid really well and getting paid really well to still use graffiti cans and just, it's still painting, right? But after a while, it just kind of sucks the energy out of you and you're using your artistic capabilities to do something that you don't really want to be doing with them, and that saps your energy, and then you've spent a whole day, a whole week, months at a time painting stuff that saps your energy, and then when the time comes to make your own stuff, you're not feeling it or you don't have the energy left for it, and like slowly the job you took for the money takes over whatever you're doing and you lose sight of why you started doing it in the first place. All for like, I want to make money as an artist. And if that's the main goal, then you will be making money as an artist, but then you're also going to be spending a lot of time doing shit you don't love doing. And I feel like in the end, that's even worse than just taking the job or like doing a normal job for a little while until you're able to live off your art full time in a way that you want to do it. But it takes some sacrifice, and that's why I'm like, I'm 33 now, and I still live month to month. Really, like I figure out every month I kind of figure out a way to keep myself alive for a little while longer. And lately, my commissions have going pretty well, and the idea of maybe setting some money aside for the first time in my life is on the horizon. But I had to become fucking 33 for that shit, and I've been drawing my whole fucking life, man. Like as soon as I think I started making my first money with drawing when I was like 16, 17. Like kids in my class would be like, "Can you draw me Spider-Man? Can you draw me whatever thing they were into?" And I'm like, "Sure, but that'll cost you 5 fucking euros." Which when you're 16, it's like, whoa, I can make a drawing, and someone's gonna pay me 5 euros. So yeah, been trying to make money off my art for a good while now. And I've done a lot of shitty fucking things. Also chasing the I want to be a paid artist thing. But as I discussed in my last video, that only gets you so far, and eventually you'll get stuck at a job you still don't like. And even if you're painting or drawing, if you use your creative energy for something you don't want to do that feels like you're paying more, or you're giving away more than you would use your energy to just work a simple side job that pays the bills, and then in your free time you can do exactly what you want. In the end you end up sacrificing more, I feel like, because you're giving away your creative energy, and that's not an infinite source, you know. Yeah. That all being said, like I also want to admit that I know that I'm like a lucky and privileged person in this world, to be lucky enough to have been raised and lived in a country that allows sort of, or that has enough creative jobs to have tried it and felt like, yo, fuck all that, and where I was always able to find some sort of job. So yeah, I know it's not that easy for everyone. I admit that. And if you're listening to this and you're going like, yeah, that's easy, it's easy for you to say, man, you're a fucking white guy from Europe. Of course, you could pick and choose jobs, but I have to take whatever I can get, and that's fair too. But I'm just talking about a fucking philosophy, man. And if you have any space in your life to sort of take a step back and be like, hey man, do I want to do this my whole life, or do I really want to live of what I love doing? And then maybe think about ways to get there, and ask yourself, like, how much would I really sacrifice to get paid to do only what I love to do? And for me, that answer was pretty easy. Like, I would sacrifice a lot, man. And sacrificing a lot means that I have a lot of friends that are my age that have a house and a baby and a wife and 2 cars and whatever. Like, I have a lot of those friends. I also have painter friends that don't have all those things, but they do have money and like budgets to do stuff. But they also did like a lot of commercial jobs and stuff like that. So whatever works for you, really. Like, if you do commercial jobs and you fucking love doing that and it's paying well, then fucking power to you. You're one of the lucky ones, man. But for me, and sometimes I curse myself for this, but for me it was always like, I gotta be an artist, man. I gotta be doing what I want to do and get paid. Like that one Tom West song, Going Out West. I'm gonna do what I want and I'm gonna get paid. And that sentence always kind of kept me going. And that's why I'm still sitting here painting a fucking car on YouTube. But at least I enjoy what I do, and every day I get to wake up and either work on a commission or work on paintings that I love doing. And I had to sacrifice a lot of things that I also would have wanted in life, but yeah, this was always the most valuable thing to me. Like all the rest is kind of extra. As long as I can wake up and kind of get to do what I wanted to do that day, that's worth more to me than having a lot of saving money and having like complete financial freedom. And I feel like most of the time I do have financial freedom and I get by and I do my things. Some months are more fun than others, but yeah. Sorry if I'm going around in circles. I have this kind of brain that tends to do that when I get stuck on this topic. I have the tendency to go in a loop a little bit. So yeah, sorry for that. I think I made my point with the whole money thing. Do shit for passion, man. We need you. If you're sitting at home and drawing and have ambitions to be a paid artist, but also feel like, but I don't want to sell my soul and I want to be making whatever it is you want to be making, the world needs you, man. I need you, man. We need more artists that are willing to sacrifice certain standards or luxuries to make what they need to be making. Because think about it. Think about how many artists we missed out on, how much insane art we missed out on because the person that was supposed to make all that art chose commercial work or chose the comforts of materialism over their art, you know. I feel like we might have missed out on some really good artists or artists that tried that and it gets hard and the suffering for it isn't worth the dream anymore. And I've been there, man. I definitely had my periods where I was like, what the fuck am I doing? To what end? All I do is fucking not have money and suffer and be frustrated and angry while drawing silly pictures. What the fuck am I doing? Like that definitely happened a lot to me. And then every time I considered quitting, well, I would never quit art, but every time I considered like, fuck this full-time artist thing, I really need to just get a normal job again so I can breathe, so I can set some money aside, and then maybe I can try it again later, but I'm done suffering for this fucking money full artist thing. But every time I was on the brink of doing that, like some divine power pulled me back. Every time I almost made the decision to like to just get a normal job for a while. And I did a lot of normal jobs. I talked about that in the last episode. I did pay my dues, but once I was a full-time artist, I always felt like I can go back, man. But there were a lot of moments where I doubted it, and I was like, yeah, man, I guess I'm just gonna have to be one of those people that goes back to a normal job, and maybe the full-time artist thing wasn't for me. Maybe I can try again later, but every time I almost want to do that, some job falls out of the sky. Someone wants to buy a painting that gets me where I need to be going. I feel like I have a guardian angel when it comes to that. Like I have to do my suffering, and I have to feel the full scope of the trying to be an artist thing. But every time I think of quitting, it's like someone up above is looking out for me and go like, you can't do that, man. Not you. You gotta power through it, my man. And it's out there. That life you're dreaming of is like certain steps away from being true, and you just gotta power through it. And then I always do, and then I fucking cry a bit, and then I feel why I was doing it every time again. So I think I kind of finally found peace with whatever happens. Like, this is it for me. I'm not gonna be doing jobs anymore. I'm just gonna make silly pictures and convince people that it's worth some money. so I can buy food and afford a roof over my head. And that's it, and that's enough. In the end, that's all you need to be doing. Like all this whole idea of being a successful artist is kind of overrated anyway. And also, most successful artists you know and follow on Instagram and make work that you love. Here's the secret, man. Like 80% of them still fucking struggle. Still not really sure how they're gonna pay the bills. Like even the big dogs, a lot of them still fucking struggle. Still will have some financial problems from time to time. And it took me a while to figure that out, or to get to know enough of those bigger artists to know like, oh what, but I thought you were like wildly successful and they will have a lot of followers and a lot of likes and shares and whatever, and they do shows and they sell work. But then you talk to them and they're like, man, most of the time I don't know how I get by. And it's like, what, but I thought you were this whole, yeah, no, I still struggle. So yeah, if you want to be a full-time artist, the goal should be, can I eat food? Do I have a roof over my head while doing whatever this is? Cool, I fucking made it, man, because there's not much more to making it. If anything, if you get more successful, you get to do more of that. But success should be measured in, do you have the freedom in your life to do what you want to do? And that's it. And all the rest is just bells and whistles, man. And bells and whistles are nice, but you don't need it. You don't need it. Like for so long, I always hoped that these galleries would pick me up, or I get to paint huge walls all over the world and get paid a shit ton to do it. But that chase kind of left me disillusioned and whatever, and now I'm doing everything from what am I able to do without needing to ask for favors from other people, you know? And so I invested more in my Instagram, and I wanted to be like an approachable artist, and I just want to post cool pictures, and I felt that like my online presence started working out more, and more people start reaching out to me also about the kind of life I live, because I do the travel thing and everything. After a while, you get to connect with your audience in a way I didn't know was possible before. Like, I started to feel that people really wanted to know about me as well, and weren't just in it for like, oh, there's this guy that makes cool pictures on Instagram. Like people were like starting to actually be invested in who I am as a person and the things I share online. And I was like, man, if I just start focusing on those people, and if I can find like 10 people that buy something off me like every month, then that's where it's at, no? Instead of like trying to work with the big dogs or get a contract with like a huge gallery, or like always aiming upwards. And like it's a good thing to be ambitious and to try to get those things, but at the same time I was like, wait a minute, my success could also come from me just interacting with the people who take the effort to follow me online and to reach out and to ask questions and really want to know about me and my work, instead of having all these big achievements. And so I started focusing on that more. And that's why I started this fucking YouTube channel. And pretty soon I'm gonna start a Patreon as well. And just like focus on what's actually in front of me that could allow me to keep doing this, instead of focusing too much on success and being a famous artist, you know. For me, that's kind of where it's at, I think, and more that's working out now, and it's making me super happy, man. Like, I got some, like, I'll get sad from time to time, and I get my things I struggle with emotionally. But lately, I've been really fucking happy with how my arts thing is going, and that I seem to get more appreciation for what I do the more I lean into who I am as a person and what I want to be making. And that's a pretty great feeling. So, yeah, to anyone watching and has been along for a little bit of the journey, and to new people as well, like, sincere fucking thank you to you guys. It means a lot to me. It means a lot to me that I can be in contact with my audience like that, and it feels like I'm kind of connected to you guys in a way, and I love that, and it actually means more to me than chasing the I gotta be a famous artist type of thing. I want to be in the same line as the fucking greats. If that's ever to happen, then it's gonna be a side product of me doing this and like focusing really on me and not on what success is supposed to look like. Yeah. Meanwhile, it's getting along here. Yeah, it's rougher than I anticipated because I'm also painting it with a fatter, well, it's not a fat brush, but I also have this one. It's a new one, but this felt too scarily sharp. And also the point, yeah, I don't know if I'll show it here. Like, see, this is something you can do like fine lines with. And this is what I'm actually painting with, and it's just like blobbed with paint. But look, it's all just mark making, man. Okay, enough rambling about all that stuff. Let's see what else. I've written some things down. Yeah, I'm making a comic book. And that's also been a thing that I've been wanting to do for a long time, but that didn't really fit in my image of what I was doing as a muralist and a painter. So I put that off for a long time, but recently I have more time to focus on things that I really want to do instead of the things I need to do to make money. And so I'm doing it. I'm writing a comic. It's this whole science fiction thing. It's got fucking science fiction. It's got blobs. It's got duckies. It's got everything that I love making. And it's got a sort of cool story. Like, I'll be honest, I've never written in my whole fucking life, and I never was much of a writer, to be honest. I'm all about the images, about making cool looking stuff, but I was never much about writing, or I'd never thought I had like a lot of sick ideas. I was just always good at making sick looking things. But so lately I took it upon me to try to write, and I started with this very basic idea, and that kind of came together more than I expected it to. And once I discovered that once you have like this base of a story or like the simplest idea, and you just start to ask yourself questions of like, okay, but why would this main character do this? Why would he look like this? Where is he going? Why is he going there? And just start asking yourself questions and trying to find answers to those questions. Like, all of a sudden you're like, oh, but he could be doing this because of that. And if that happened, then probably he's doing this. And it'll just like start building on it. And I've been doing that for like a little over a month now. And gotta say that I'm kind of scraping together like a pretty cool story, if I do say so myself, if that's allowed. I'll start sharing a lot about it pretty soon. I guess I can give a little preview here. The concept art is on my iPad with the colors and everything, but that's something I want to save for my Patreon. So yeah, if you're interested in my art and the fact that I'm making a comic and you're like, you're making a comic? I'd love to see that. I'm gonna make a Patreon pretty soon, like it'll go online in the next 2 weeks somewhere, where I'll be sharing process of me making it, concept art, sketches, character designs. Once I actually start making the pages, I'll upload them there as well, but it'll only be on that Patreon. So I'm not gonna be like, on my Patreon, you get to see all the shit you usually see on my Instagram, but earlier or whatever. Like, no, I'm gonna make the Patreon specifically for my comic and the whole process, and to, yeah, I feel like that's a fair idea. Like, I'll share the whole making of the comic, and as soon as pages are done, I'm gonna like share them on there so you can follow the story and get kind of invested in it. And yeah, it'll not be too expensive, and it'll allow me more space to fucking do what I do. This is the opener to my sketchbook. But I'm not going to show you a lot of the sketchbook right now because that's for a different video where I give you a tour of this little book. It's almost finished, so let me off screen look for the pages I want to look for. Not that I have a lot, I'll show you a little bit. So yeah, these are some concept sketches. This is my main guy. He's a blob, can change shapes and shit, and he has a little ducky friend because of course. So yeah, these two dudes are my main characters. This is the main character, and this is like his little side buddy. And yeah, it's it's getting together. I'm pretty happy with the story, and most of all, what I discovered about writing that I didn't really expect is the fact that I am able to put some of my own stuff that's going on with me, or like things I'm going through. I'm actually able to put that in the story, and that's super sick because I always try to, like, when I make paintings, put a little bit of me in it, but at the same time I'm also like on the comic side of things, and a lot of things I draw are like very cartoon comic-y, and it's not always the easiest task to put like heavy emotions into an art style like that. And even when I do, I think it floats over most people's head because I don't usually feel the need to explain why I make certain things or explain the meaning of my paintings. Like, you can assume that pretty much every painting that I put on my Instagram, not always, but mostly, I make for a reason. Like, I'll have something happen in my life that I need to process in some way. I'll sort of put that in a painting, even if it's like a silly character. There will always be a little bit of me in there, and it makes me understand my life more, makes me make sense of things. But at the same time, it's a little limited. But now, with the comic I'm writing, I feel like I can actually put like parts of myself into different characters, and like different characters will be different aspects of who I am as a person. Also, I don't know if my mic picks this up, but I have the lovely privilege of living above neighbors with 3 horrible fucking dogs, and they bark the whole day long. I hope you don't hear it too much, otherwise most of this video will be fucking dogs barking, so I'm sorry for that in advance. But yeah, so anyway, I'm able to channel a lot of the things that happen to me and a lot of the things that I'm stuck with sometimes, and I get to put that in my little comic book, and it's actually a real nice way to get rid of some things that I'm stuck with. Like, I'm a pretty emotional man. I get in my feels a lot, and stuff that happens to me may impact me more than it does a lot of people, or it's, at least that's what I find in my life a lot of the times. Like, I'll be stuck with something for a long while where other people are like, yeah, and that's it, and you move on, and I'm like, wait, what? But that's not. So yeah, it's pretty cool to have a new form to express that, and I'm also like super excited to share that with all of you. Like, it'll probably still be a good while before I have my first finished comic because it's a pretty long story. I'll be releasing it in separate issues. I anticipate that like the first one would be ready somewhere in the first half of 2025. Don't fucking quote me on that. Don't be all like, "Hey man, you promised some work," but I'm gonna try, and I'm putting a lot of effort in it, and it's taking some shape. I also wanted most of the concept and the story to be ready before I actually start drawing it, because I feel that that is gonna make it more solid. Instead of like, there's always room to figure shit out as you go, but I wanted like the big outline of where I'm going, why the characters are doing what they're doing. I wanted to know that before I started drawing it. But so pretty soon I'm gonna start drawing the whole thing when I'm done with all the concept art. And yeah, so I'm excited to share that with you guys, and to yeah, it's gonna be very personal to me, even though it's like an insane science fiction story. Like, if you ever get to read it, then you can know that a lot of what is going on in here and in my heart will be in that thing. Because yeah, why else would we do stuff, right? If I'm an artist, I got to express myself, man. Right? It's not just all a bunch of pretty pictures. Well, it's mostly that, but still, it's gotta be real. And even if you draw comic-y stuff, and even if you draw like more cartoony things, if it comes from a place of real emotion and has some foundation in some stuff that actually happens to you, I feel like it can hit home just that little bit more than forever just drawing pictures for the sake of drawing pictures. And I feel like I'm able to do that. I feel that's why sometimes my stuff resonates with my audience, is because there's always like a little bit extra to the imagery than just here's a cool picture of a guy or a skull. And this is not the best example to be talking what I'm talking about. Like, this is in fact just a skull with guts out of his eyes in the back of a truck, like it's a giant skull or something. This is pretty, like, this just looks fucking rad in my opinion. So maybe that's not the best example, but I feel like people who've known my work for a while might know what I mean. At least I hope that that's how it comes across, that it's not just always pretty pictures. Like, there's some of my feelings in that shit, man. Yeah, I think we're getting there, and now let's do some stuff that I like to do to make it pop more, make it feel alive a little bit. I'm gonna do some splattering with a shitty brush. I also never know if I show it here or on the camera. Anyway, so I take some more water and mix that in with the paint that I was already using. Make it a little bit more liquidy, and then we just fucking splat that shit. It's actually best to do this with a toothbrush. I've tried that in the past, and that usually gives the best splats. But I don't have a toothbrush, and I do have this, so yeah. See how it kind of, I don't know if that picks up on the scale of the camera or the screen you're watching it from, but splatters make shit more alive, man. It's like particle-y and makes stuff less perfect looking. And especially if you take this, and I'm gonna make it into a screen print, like you turn this into a screen, seeing like in real life the splats and the inconsistencies, but then have that turn into a nicely printed screen print. I just love that shit, man. That always looks good. And you can use splatters to add some more shadow as well. Like, it's not just particle-y, but like some parts that need more darkness can be shaded like that a little bit. The wheels. See that? See that, motherfuckers? Some bigger splash. Yeah, that might be enough. Let's not overdo it. And I might not do this on camera because we have to wait maybe a little bit too long. Where is my fucking... Doesn't matter. When this is dry, I also take white paint from the same brand. That's also like the liquidy kind of texture, and we do the same thing, the splattering, but with white paint, and that makes like negative drops because it won't show up on the white of the paper, but it will show up in the dark parts, and then you have like these white splatters in the black parts, and that just gives it that other level that I really, really enjoy. But yeah, like these splatters have to dry a little bit. But yeah, who cares? Fuck it. Let's just do this. While we're at it, right? Take another little paint tray, put some white in there. We take another brush, and we'll splatter some white over there. Now we're doing it anyway. Yeah. Meanwhile, I hope you guys kind of enjoyed this second podcast. I do have a tendency, I feel myself, to ramble a bit. Like, I do think like the subjects that I bring up are interesting, and especially for other artists, which in all honesty is my main target anyway. Like, I'm sure maybe some people who don't make art themselves find this interesting to listen to, but I can imagine like 99.9% of my audience being artists. It's like that on Instagram anyway as well. Like, most of my followers are just other artists. But I like it. I like our little community of artists supporting artists. And you normies can just join in as well and buy my shit. Make me some money. So yeah, same old, like a rough brush, white paint, add some water, and we do the same thing. See that? See how good that looks? Just have like a couple of these negative splatters, especially like it feels like dirt, you know. We don't mind getting our fingers dirty. And we'll do some from like higher up. If you go close up, you get like these fine splatters. If you go higher up, the drops get more time to travel, and like, I don't know how it works. From close up, they're all like kind of small and more dense. If you go a little bit back, the drops will be thicker. That's just kind of how it works. I'm not gonna be doing too much of that either. Read more. Like it to be, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. And yeah, there we go. Feel like that's not too shabby for, what is it, a little under an hour, like 50 minutes. For now, that's also like the length I want to keep these podcasts at. Like, I'm sure at some point when I have stuff to talk about, and I will go more in depth on the comic and other stuff that's going on in my life. Maybe these might become longer. It also depends on what I'm working on. Like, I'd love to make paintings on here as well, but an hour is like very short to like make a complete painting. And I also don't want to make 3-hour podcasts. Maybe at some point I do, but for now, I don't know. So I can do this thing and ramble to you guys while making a painting from start to finish. But let's just keep it easy for now. I also want to just find out if people are actually watching this shit, so I don't put my efforts into this for nothing. See this little thing I need to change. Where is... But so yeah, for now I'm taking it a little bit easy, so I don't... just to get to know the platform, or like at least the format that I'm doing this in. Like, this does kind of work for me. Like, I do like just talking and saying whatever is going on inside of me. while making pictures, because honestly this doesn't feel so much different from what I usually do, just sit down and draw. And instead of saying this shit out loud to a camera, usually exactly the same things happen but in here, and that gets tiring from time to time. I am like a chronic overthinker, and like even the things I'm saying right now, I've been over all that stuff in my head before. Like I'll have these fictional conversations with myself about everything and nothing at the same time while drawing. So now at least I can do this and have something. At least I can make a post about it, or it has like some place to go instead of forever echoing in my overthinking head. So, this is it for today. To anyone who made it to the end and listened to this whole thing, I really appreciate you, because I feel like a lot of people would listen to 5 minutes of this and be like, okay, I get it, and or skip to the end to see the result of the drawing. But people who might be drawing themselves or don't have anything better to do than just sit there and listen to me for 50 minutes. Anyway, however you got here, I appreciate you. Thanks for listening. I'll be back pretty soon. I want to try to make this a weekly thing. And I appreciate the fuck out of all of you. And yeah, that's it. Check y'all later for some more Friends of the Podcast. Bye, suckers.